I still remember the first time I saw her, not because of anything dramatic. No lightning bolt, no music swelling in the background. It was a Tuesday evening, in a cafe I almost never went to. I was there only because it was raining, and I needed a place to hide for a while. She was sitting near the window, a book open in front of her, though I could tell she wasn't reading. Her eyes kept drifting outside as though she were waiting for someone who would never arrive. When our eyes met, she smiled. Not the polite kind you give strangers, but the kind that makes you feel as if she already knows something about you, something secret, and she isn't afraid to let you know. I don't even remember what we talked about that night. Small things, I think. Weather, books, how bad the coffee tasted. But I remember the way I felt, like I had stepped into a place I was always meant to find. When I left, she said, "See you around." And it didn't feel like a question. It felt like a promise. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was restless, but because I was afraid if I closed my eyes, I'd wake up and realize it wasn't real. That she wasn't real. But she was, and that night was only the beginning. We started meeting without ever agreeing to. It was as if the city itself wanted us to collide. A bookstore on Thursday, a park bench on Saturday. A train ride where she happened to be in the same carriage. We'd talk for hours, about nothing, about everything. She had a way of listening that made even my clumsiest words feel worth saying. I didn't try to impress her. I couldn't. She saw right through me, and yet, for reasons I'll never fully understand, she stayed. There was laughter, too. The kind that sneaks up on you, that shakes something loose inside your chest. She would laugh at the most ordinary things. The way the barista misspelled her name, or how I always lost my umbrella. She laughed like she had all the time in the world, like nothing could ever break her. And slowly, I realized I was falling. Not all at once, not like in movies, but in pieces. Each day, a little more of me belonged to her. Looking back now, I think those early days were the happiest. Because back then, I didn't know that happiness has an expiration date. Back then, I believed it could last forever. Eventually, we stopped pretending we were just strangers meeting by chance. We moved into a small apartment. 2 rooms, cracked walls, a balcony that rattled whenever the wind blew. To anyone else, it would have seemed broken, but to us, it was perfect. We filled it with the noise of our lives. She sang in the shower, sometimes off-key, sometimes so beautifully I'd stop what I was doing just to listen. I cooked terrible dinners, and she pretended to enjoy them. The kettle screamed every morning. The radiator clanged every night. It was chaos, but it was ours. We didn't talk about the future much. Not seriously. There was always time, or so I thought. I wanted more. Marriage, maybe children. I never said it out loud. I assumed she knew. I assumed she wanted the same. But life has a way of testing even the strongest walls. And love isn't always enough. It didn't fall apart all at once. That's the cruel thing. It was gradual, so gradual I almost didn't notice. First, it was the silence. She stopped laughing at the little things. Her eyes grew distant, even when she was right beside me. She'd come home later, offering excuses that felt too thin, like paper held against the light. I tried to fix it, but I didn't know how. I thought giving her space was love. I thought patience was enough. But sometimes patience just looks like indifference. We fought. Not loudly, not violently, but with words sharpened in quiet tones, with doors closed a little too hard, with nights spent on opposite sides of the bed. One evening she looked at me and said, "Do you even see me anymore?" I didn't know how to answer. Because I did see her. I saw everything, but somehow she felt invisible. And that was the beginning of the end. She left in silence. No final fight. No dramatic goodbye. Just a note on the table, her key beside it, and the faint smell of her perfume lingering in the air. I stood there for hours, staring at the empty space she left behind. I could have run after her. I could have called, but I didn't. Maybe pride, maybe fear, maybe because some part of me knew it was already too late. The days after blurred together. I kept waiting for her to come back. Every sound in the hallway made my heart race. Every knock on the door made me hope. but it was never her. And then the silence became permanent. Time moved on, as it always does. I worked, I ate, I slept. But I wasn't really living. People told me to move forward, to let go. They meant well, but they didn't understand. You can't simply erase someone who once felt like your entire life. Sometimes I'd see her face in strangers, on the train, in a crowd. Always for just a second, before reality reminded me she was gone. I thought about calling her, writing her. But fear held me back. Fear that she'd already built a new life, one where I didn't exist. Fear that she was happy without me. And so I stayed silent, and silence became my punishment. 3 years later, I found out. Not from her, not from a friend, but from a post online. Her photo, a candle, 2 dates. She was gone. A car crash, just like that. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just stared at the screen, as though if I kept looking, the words would change. The photo would disappear, and she would walk back through the door. But they didn't, and she never would. I didn't go to the funeral. I told myself it wasn't my place anymore. But really, I think I was too afraid. Afraid of seeing her family, afraid of facing what I'd lost, afraid of the finality of a grave. Instead, I stayed home, alone, staring at the walls of the apartment we once shared. After that, she became a ghost in my life. Not in the frightening sense, but in the quiet, unshakable way memory lingers. She visited my dreams. Not the woman she became, but the girl I first met in the cafe. Always smiling, always young, I'd wake up with a strange mix of warmth and sorrow. For a few seconds, I'd believe she was still here. Then reality would return, and I'd lose her all over again. It's a cruel thing to grieve someone twice. Once, when they leave, and again, when they die. Now I'm 45. I have a house, a steady job, even someone beside me who cares, who deserves more than I can give. On the surface, it looks like I've built a life. But late at night, when the world is quiet, I still think of her. I wonder what we might have been had I fought harder, spoken louder, loved better. They say time heals. Maybe it does. But some wounds don't close. They just become part of you, shaping the person you are, the choices you make, the way you love. And she is part of me. Always will be. This isn't a story about love, not really. Love is too small a word for what she was, what she is. This is a story about absence, about how someone can leave, yet never leave you, about the echo of a smile that still haunts me, the weight of words I never said, the life that slipped through my hands like water. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see her again, not in grief, not in regret, but in that first moment. The cafe, the rain, the smile that felt like a promise. Maybe that's enough. Maybe somewhere in some distant place I'll see her again. Until then, I'll carry her. In silence, in memory, in dreams, always.